All right, good afternoon, everybody. We're going to begin our meeting. We probably will get a couple more people. We'll do quick introductions around the table. I'm Charlie Johnson, Committee Chair.
Mallory Ackerman, Visit Fargo Moorhead.
Tim Mahoney, Mayor of Fargo.
Dave Pepcorn, City of Fargo.
Susan Thompson, Finance Director.
Taylor Snelling, owner Mezzaluna.
Emma McIntyre, Folkways, community nonprofit.
Denise Kolpak, City Commission.
Shirley Hughes, Visit Fargo Moorhead.
Jim Gilmore, city staff.
And online, I believe we have Kent. Are you there, Kent?
Yep. Hello, everybody. Kent Kolstad, President at Livewire.
Okay, anybody else online? I got a note from one of our committee members, not going to make it. Will join online. So Shannon will be joining us online. I don't think she's there yet, so. Okay, so let's start out with discussing our process and the timeline. We're rolling this into this, but something came up yesterday. We had some concerns expressed by at least one of the developers about the timeline being a little tight to try to have this all done and submitted by the end of January. So we thought we'd talk about that a little bit. I threw down on your chairs. Hey, Claire. Claire, let the record show Claire Hughes is joining us from the clubhouse. So I put on your tables a revised timeline, but we can discuss this a little bit. I understand that the fact that the holidays are in the middle of this issue of the time frame for getting the second round RFP submitted. So I can see that could be a little bit of a problem. It's really not much goes on between December 15th and December 31st, I guess, or January 2nd. So in this revised timeline, and we can certainly discuss this, I'm proposing we add 2 weeks to this. And instead of asking for them to be due on January 30th or 31st, I put in Friday the 13th, which is perfect, right? So, although the 31st was going to be a Saturday, Jim, you can tell us if that matters. I don't know if, probably they'll work on Saturday if they need to. Valentine's Day, Saturday, yeah, 13th, good luck, bad luck, whatever. So that's what I proposed in there. So that's the first thing we need to discuss is how you guys feel about extending this by 2 weeks. By doing so, I feel we can still get to the City Commission by the March 30th meeting. I assumed that was the next meeting after the 16th. So, what do you all think?
Are there any notable cons for expanding the timeline by 2 weeks that you can?
Not 2 weeks. If we went a month, I'd start to think it was a little long. But I think 2 weeks is fine. I really would like to be done I feel like we should be able to be done by April.
My gut reaction is that an additional 2 weeks is, I think, a good grace period. And with the holidays, we'd want to give them the time that they need.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed. And as far as how this affects the Fargo-specific hotels, if that goes into effect, the lodging tax wouldn't be started to be collected until that month after. Is that correct?
I think the ordinance will have to be amended, and so, discuss this with legal, and really it's up to the city commission. We think it might be best to wait until we actually have a signed agreement with a developer and a hotel, and that's already signed, and then start the lodging tax. If you start it too early, then what do you do if the project stumbles too long?
Thank you, Jim.
Well, it wouldn't be the end of the world. I mean, the money wouldn't be spent. But I see what you're saying. It doesn't really, it's going to last 25 years whenever you start it, so.
And I guess given if we're in a little bit of a dip in occupancy, it might be better to wait and see if things rebound.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. Well, let's talk about predicting that. No, let's not. Shirley? Okay, so I laid it out there. I've already gave my opinion. I'm sorry, I should have kept it more. I shouldn't have been so open about that, but does anyone disagree with that, disagree with the two?
Charlie, I just had the impression somebody talked to me as well, and actually was advocating for 30 to 60 days, so you're only doing 2 weeks. Did you revisit with the developer on the 2 week versus 30 days?
They want to add 30 to 60 more days to what we have in?
I think Dave did too, right?
I'm sure they all,
was concerned about pulling together the hotel and the entertainment center in that time frame. I'm just wondering, the
yeah, I've only heard
conversation
from,
I heard was 30 days, but if you've talked to somebody and they said 2 weeks is fine, then 2 weeks is fine.
I didn't discuss the length of extension with the board. I think there's only one that's called me, and I'm pretty sure there's only one that's called anybody. Committee? 30 days? That's going to get us into the middle of April before we get a project picked, which is about the time election filings finish up, right? Not that that should have anything to do with it, but just a thought.
If the committee's comfortable with 2 weeks, I'm fine with it. I don't. It's just, sugar beets are down right now.
Yeah. My question would have been to developers. I guess I haven't received any feedback from them, so that's the basis that I'm making my opinion off of. I wish somebody would have shared during the Q&A if they had been interested in an extension, to make a more educated opinion. Because my gut says 2 weeks is okay, but if other people have received feedback for 30 days.
Jim? You work with this stuff all the time, what
I
do you think?
mean, ultimately, the city commission has yet to approve this, and right now, we've got this January 30th deadline, and so I guess on Monday, this committee can recommend that that be moved ahead 2 weeks, and if they want to go longer, they certainly can, if they want to get some input from the other developers between now and Monday.
In fairness, it'd probably be nice to have the other three finalists weigh in on it. If they're okay with that, that would be.
Well, they all have phones, and I know they're not afraid to use them. So-
Will they call you the semi-retired guy?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I would
Yeah.
just
I mean, I
have,
don't mean to make light of that, but I don't think anybody's afraid of calling.
yeah.
if
I
they
think
have
the
a
argument that 2 weeks around holidays is hard because it's.
Yeah, no, I recognize that.
So a 2 weeks extension is fine with me, but.
If we do,
I
if we
think,
go
Jim, if you
to,
hear any input for more, then this committee should know.
if we go to the middle of February, that's basically 75 days from next week, assuming the commission approves the release, which is about the same as we had the first time around. Okay. I would entertain a motion on this. I mean, so, but first I'd like to ask Susan, can you weigh in? I mean, you've dealt with these kinds of things too.
My only concern is, and just a little bit that I've talked to Fargo Dome, they're a little unique in that they're a city entity. So I think they just recently visited with the city attorney on how they can sort of navigate, through contracts that they have with their architect firm on moving ahead with like a hotelier. So they're a little behind to get started. So I just would hate for the fact that they're a city department to penalize them. And if a couple weeks would help them, I think that's not going to hurt the project. We want to make sure we're doing this the best way possible.
Sure. Are you comfortable with the 2 weeks?
I think 30 days would be more appropriate if that's what they think they need. I don't know that that's going to hurt anything.
It's not the end of the world if we go an extra 30 days, if we went to the end of February, basically.
I don't see any major opposition to it. If they need 30 days and they are bound by the way that they're supposed to operate based on city requirements, I think that's manageable.
Let me look at my calendar. Just want to see what, yes? Does somebody else want to talk? Go ahead. Okay.
Well, Charlie, the other thing we can do is this group can meet quickly thereafter. We don't have to wait till Friday. We could wait on Monday if we want, or if we want to get something to the commission, we can do that. I think we have to become more flexible as a team, just to process whatever we have to process.
Well,
Because
if
I
we-
presume what you're going to do, right, is you're going to have them all present to us again. So
Well,
to
if we-
me, maybe then doing that over 2 weeks, we do that in 1 week. We just have either one a day or two a day and just get her done, so that we'd be lined up then for the next commission meeting.
Well, we could have two meetings. We could condense the presentations into 1 week. That would certainly be possible. I think we want to leave ample time for discussion because we
We
didn't.
become more nimble. So-
Yeah, so that would mean pushing it, so it happens, 27th is a Friday. Tell me about the Saturday thing. Was Friday, Saturday, does it matter?
I'd already moved it to January 30th, it's on a Friday.
Yeah, that makes more sense, I think, yeah. Okay, so, Commissioner?
I was going to make a motion to extend the deadline to February 27th.
Okay.
2026.
Is there a second?
I would be more than happy to second.
Okay. Any further discussion?
I'd be interested, excuse me, to entertain the idea then of having all 4 presentations then that week, that first week of March, if that could be scheduled.
Yeah, so let's plan on that. So we have, part of the other thing we were going to discuss here was whether you wanted to have a week of discussion before the presentations or wait and have a week of discussion before you score after the presentations. So we can discuss that after we have this vote, but that's something to think about. Any further discussion on the extension to the 27th? Commissioner?
I was just
Just getting ready to vote? God bless you. That's good. Okay, hearing no further discussion, let's do a roll call. I guess I'll call the roll. Mallory?
Aye.
Claire?
Aye.
Joe Raso's not here. Shannon, are you online yet?
Aye, yeah,
Aye, thank you. Welcome.
yeah.
Kemp?
Aye.
Kate's not here. Taylor?
Aye.
Emma?
Aye.
Mayor Mahoney?
Aye.
Commissioner Kolpak?
Aye.
Commissioner Pepcorn?
Aye.
Okay, well, I think it passed. So we will redo the timeline, so now let's discuss for a moment the idea of where you want that discussion. I'm kind of Mallory and I talked about this a little bit earlier today. We each had it on different sides. So the question is, the proposals come in on the 27th. So the next week, the Friday would be March 6th. So do you want to have a week, or at least we could do a couple meetings that week too, I suppose. Do you want to do a discussion after they come in, or after you've seen the presentations? Would it be more advantageous to have a week where we just discuss before your scoring is due the week after?
I think it's more advantageous to do the conversation after all the proposals. I do not see a downside, though, if we then do 2 meetings before we see the proposals, because we're going to be talking a lot more about questions that we have going into that final Q&As that we have with them. And then after that, then it'll be a lot more clear, and then we can discuss from there.
Okay, so clear that up for me. You think you'd want to have a week of discussions after the presentations, before the scoring?
Correct. If we just do one, I do think it would be ideal to do one before and one after.
So, excuse me, if I may, if we do this in similar cadence with what we did in August, we did not have a meeting between the presentations and our scoring so that we weren't influenced by everyone else's opinions.
Right.
So you're saying you want to have that meeting in between?
I think at this point, we really can't change each other's minds, right? We all have the things that we enjoy and don't enjoy on the ones. I think it would be important to have.
You should be on the city commission.
I just think that.
It's not too late to file.
I just think beforehand, we'll be talking a lot about questions that we have on the proposals. At the end, it's like, we'll know what is what.
I'm inclined to want to do, I'd rather have the discussion in between the presentations and the scoring. I think it would be more helpful, and I think Commissioner Pepcorn, you wanted a little more discussion at that point too, so.
But I think he has a good point. Then if you have discussion, then that's going to influence how you vote individually. So I think that's something for our whole group to decide, because that's what will happen. You know what I mean? I just think at some point it would be good for us to discuss, and we will have that, but I'm, like you're talking about. So anyway, does that make sense?
And to Commissioner Pepcorn's point, it was the discussion after we scored that was important to have. It's not necessarily in between important.
I don't get to vote, but can I add something, just as an observer on this?
Hey, Joe.
Um,
Joe Raso joins the group. for
Is
those who are
it,
listening.
is it advantageous to do that with, yes, you could be influenced, but then everybody is sort of voting sort of on the same, like, same understanding of everything?
Because I do think it would allow us to address any assumptions prior to the grading process.
Again, I don't get to vote, just a thought.
Well, to me, we have a bunch of experts right on this panel, and maybe, Emma, you see something I don't see, so you would influence my scoring. If you said, you know, when I look at this proposal, I don't like this part, or, I mean, the downtown, we're worried about hotels. Somebody might say, you know, I've looked at this and I really thought about it. I think there's enough hotel space downtown, right? It would influence my vote. So I don't mind the discussion, because we all individually look at it, but sometimes somebody else has a different lens, you know?
Yeah, I think,
You-
it-
you
yeah, we
might
can
see,
learn from each
I
other.
don't like the catering setup, or I don't like, you might see something I didn't see in the fine tune.
I-
So I think that helps us kind of, because we're getting it down to the final
Yeah.
vote, right?
Isn't the whole idea of having a committee like this, correct me if I'm wrong, is for us to discuss and, you know, but I think the discussion works better before the scoring, because once the scores are in, Shannon?
Yeah, no, Charlie, I was just going to agree with you. I think that the reality of this is that each one of us brings a lens of expertise and perspective to the table, and that collectively, that conversation is going to allow us to see those perspectives, not to sway one person one way or the other, but I may lean on Kent because he has a different level of expertise when it comes to the actual space requirements. And I just think that leverages that expertise to a greater extent by having the conversation prior to, not with the intent to change people's mind, but for the intent to make sure that the different levels of expertise are brought to the table.
Right, yeah, I don't see anyone on the committee really trying to persuade others too much. Emma?
Now, and I think to make it a really impactful discussion is thinking about what does the agenda look like for that meeting? So when we discuss those items, we do it in a really productive manner versus just being like, okay, well, let's talk about the second round of proposals. Maybe something we could do for that specific meeting is having a very intentional agenda, maybe some research based on how do you have constructive conversations on things as big as this.
Okay, well,
Oh,
I might have to ask you for a sample of that kind of agenda, but go ahead, Mallory.
logistically, then are we adding, I mean, obviously, this is just a tentative revised timeline. Are we then adding another week? Because essentially, after proposals are due, we want to have a committee meeting after that to, whether that's the presentations in 1 week or 2 weeks, but adding another discussion committee meeting between that and then the scoring. And we obviously want to have one at the end. We can't just go from scoring to a recommendation unless we are like whomever gets the top score is the winner. But I think there definitely should be a conversation after our scoring is complete.
Give us some suggested schedules, but let's compress it. I just want to, we don't need to delay things, right?
Right, no, we can-
When
we
you get
can-
down to the final four, we're going to kind of know, and then I think you're going to see the presentations, and then
Yeah,
it may be somebody gets the top score, and you go, well, that's the obvious winner, that's who gets it. The discussion after that would be, what? I mean,
we're gonna try to compress it, and we'll do that. We don't have to decide the exact things right now, but this gives me an idea. Certainly, if the committee's willing, we can do like a Thursday, Friday, or a Wednesday, Friday, and have all the presentations in 1 week. The proposals are due gonna be on the 27th, so,
let's just all look at that week, the next week.
we could schedule
We may
those.
be meeting 3
Yeah.
days out of 5.
We could do those like on the 4th and the 6th, or the 3rd, 5th and the 6th. We'll put together something and see, and as long as everyone knows that's what might be coming, then we'll send that out. Now theoretically, or I think we'll stick to this, we're not actually meeting again until the 12th of December, assuming that we get this approved by the commission on Monday. But we could actually discuss that on the 12th of December. We could go over the new timeline at the same time as we go review the questions that the developers put in too. So we can make a final decision on the timeline December 12th, but we will try to compress it so we definitely get done no later than the end of March. If not, if we can get back to the 16th, the meeting of the 16th, that'd be wonderful. We'll see. We'll see. Okay. Okay, that's what we'll do then. So we're moving the deadline to February 27th, extra 30 days. There you go. Next on the agenda, any other comments on any of that? No? Okay, next on the agenda is to look at the second round RFP, and I'm going to ask Jim Gilmore to take us through that, and we'll see, and we'll go through it. Let's go through it. Let's just go through it. And then we'll see if there are questions. I don't know that you need to give us too much on the introduction and summary, but it's up to you.
Yeah, probably the thing to point out on this introduction and summary, minor change, we're going to have them do it 4 PM rather than 5, because that way we can kind of have somebody here to release them. So if you want to get them that night and look at them over the weekend, it's a little easier to get them out if everyone has them in by 4 o'clock. The other paragraphs have to do with kind of the open records law. As we get into reviewing the financial information, we're going to allow them to provide, their, maybe their personal financial statements or how exactly they're going to do that. And that would be reviewed by one of our financial advisors. And so that would be something that's not part of the open records law. Again, I think in this case, it'll be strictly more financial information of the companies, maybe what assets they have. And really, we'll have our financial advisors look at it and say, either they have enough or they don't, but we won't know the exact number, at least the committee won't. But you'll have access to that summary report without all the financial details as you look at that. So I just want to point that out. And Eric Johnson had drafted those last couple paragraphs to cover that.
But that kind of stuff will not be public record, the deep financial material, is what you're saying.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Can I ask a question, Mr.
Yeah.
Chair?
Yeah.
So Jim, these proposals are due on the 27th, so is that when their financials, they will have to have them in by then? And then do we send them to Baker Tilly and then they review them at that time, or is it later?
I think we'll probably ask for that, after they come in, then I really want to bring the financial advisor in because I don't know exactly what they're going to want to look at. And then once we have that person, they'll contact each of the companies and say, here's what we want to see.
My question is, but if their proposals is it maybe separate from that then?
Yeah, it would be submitted separately.
Okay,
But I think the deadline should be the same. Is that what you're asking?
Well,
that's what I'm asking, but I don't know if
Yeah, they're
that's-
probably the financial advisor will probably ask for additional information that won't be sent in at that deadline, but we'll get it later and have time to review it.
I see.
Jim, is that looking at the number 5, when we say the financial plan, I'm guessing that's a separate component that's kind of added. We will get that information, but what you're talking about is different, correct?
Yeah, it's different than what's in that financial
Okay.
plan.
Thank
What's
you.
in that plan will be public.
Yeah, what you're talking about is, making sure that they all are who they say they are and they have the money that they say they have and
Yeah.
proving, some of the things that we don't all necessarily need to see publicly, but they need to show their bona fides, basically.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Then also we'll revise that schedule. You can see, just want to remind everyone what the city commission or what this overall process was is you would then forward a ranking to the city commission. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, and so it wouldn't scores, but that scoring is can be used as a guide when you if something's really close. Maybe there's some other factors where you would rank a different one number 1, even though the points are a little different. You would have the flexibility to do that. You don't necessarily have to follow the raw scores.
In the recommendation, you mean?
Yes, in the recommendation.
Well, and ultimately, the city commission can,
Yeah, and ultimately, the city commission will decide which one, they may take your top ranking, they may take the second one. They're free to do that.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
If I may ask a question about the new schedule, knowing that there's only 3 weeks between when we issue it and when their questions are due, and that also includes the Thanksgiving holiday,
Yeah, I was looking at that too. That's a good
could we
point.
maybe,
you
if
wanna
we're
give them-
already pushing it back 30 days, maybe we push those questions until January?
Yeah, I think we should push those two back also.
Okay,
Okay, we won't be meeting on the 12th.
sorry.
Stand by for further changes. Okay.
Christmas party at Charlie's house. Also, that line right above Phase 2 proposal requirements is duplicated just above that. So we could pull that line. That says the city reserves the right to reject any and all proposals. That's duplicated from just above.
Okay. The,
He wants to make sure they know that.
sometimes it is good to tell developers things twice, but. So then these are the requirements that we're going to be asking the developers to provide. We've kind of went over this with HVS too. So we want to see the site plan would be, is it could be a parking lot or a ramp? How is access going to work? Wayfinding, pedestrian connections, landscaping. So you want to see a much more detailed plan for the site in addressing the infrastructure needs. And some of the meetings the developers have had with city staff have kind of fleshed out, I think, a few of these issues. Secondly, the architectural concept drawings, would note the square footage, how the space would be divided, that internal traffic, any kind of noise attenuation that would need to be done, the support spaces, capacities. So again, much more detail than you had in that first round. This wouldn't be like detailed final architectural drawings. That would happen after the final proposal is selected, so.
But they should be more detailed than what we've seen so far.
Yes.
We should have a much better idea of what their plan includes.
Yeah, it should be more detailed on square footage and in the design also. Then the architectural concept and drawings of the hotel in kind of the restaurant, lounge capacity and layout. The guest rooms per floor, I think, HVS thought that was still relevant in terms of elevators, kind of the size of the guest room, the room types, the brand quality and the chain scale. The term chain scale kind of has to do with, are you at this upper end or a lower end or a mid-range? And then just any functional space that they would have in addition to the convention center. So if they're providing additional meeting rooms, they would note that in their proposal. I know these next two, I know one of the major factors that the city commission's concerned about is, the cost of this. And, unless you actually hire the architect to go all the way and get bids, you really don't know the final cost of this. And so we would want to know what any infrastructure improvements and the site acquisition costs, you should know that. Demolition cleanup, should be able to provide a good estimate with that. In the buildings, fixtures, equipment. And then the final one is, how do they propose and what time would they need to provide the city with a guaranteed project cost? And that's what we've done with the downtown parking ramp, because before you actually sign the agreement, you're going to want to know, okay, is this 37 million, period, 38 million? What's the maximum cost of this going to be? That's something I think the city commission is going to want to know before they would start the project.
Hey, Jim, in your experience or others that dealt with these kind of projects, is there a pretty high level of comfort that once a project's chosen, that as they provide those guaranteed costs, that it's going to be in the range or close? And why I ask that is, has there been any thought about having the number 2 project because of situations like this?
I mean, I think you could get into a situation where someone is selected and then they find out we can't deliver, and then the city's going to have to move on to number 2.
But you're wondering if we should have all 4 of them do all of this? No.
No, that's not it. I'm saying that if through this process, we have a 1, and then city commission approves it, and they go through and they say, oh man, we missed, or something's happened, and now it's 48 million. Is there?
Yeah, well, I
is
think
there-
there's
Is there a
always-
process ahead of time to think about so that you're not backtracking?
I mean, I think, yeah, we need to look at the cost estimates and maybe with HVS and, if we're going to, depends on how this is going to happen. So some of the sites, it could be actually, the city, bidding it, say if it's downtown or the Fargo Dome, we have a public entity that's, could be bidding it, or it could be the private, could be one or the other. If it's a private, then, you're more curious about what did they make a good estimate, or are they going to come back and say, no, we need a lot more?
Well, I guess I've just always assumed that if we pick a project, best faith, we got all the information we possibly could through this process, and then it goes to the city commission, and it goes through all the hoops that have to be done afterwards. If something falls apart and they can't do it, you're not obligated to go ahead with it. That's part of the agreement, right?
Correct.
And so then I would just assume the city would come back, whether you wanted the committee to get back together, or if you wanted to just have the commission come together and consider the remaining, what was number 2, 3, and 4, and move ahead with them. I think that's kind of the way it works in most government bidding things, doesn't it?
And as far as the public-private partnerships, I'll use the recent downtown parking ramp. They had talked to contractors and had pretty assurance that they could make this $19 million mark. They had done enough design and, talking to contractors. But it really wasn't approved until, close to a year later, when they had the final bids and the final money was in there, then it was time to go and break ground. I think this would be
Well, I
similar.
hope it doesn't take another year, but yes, Commissioner.
But that's why this committee is important, because we're going to rank them.
Yeah.
And so when it goes to the city commission, and if something happens where the first one drops out, the next one is, we go to the second one. We don't reconvene.
Yeah.
We just go to, I think that's usually how.
I'm inclined to agree with that, Commissioner. I think, we're going to give them a rank, and if the first one falls out, then you go down the line.
I
Okay.
do think we need somebody to look at it, because we just did the dispatch center, and the engineer's estimate on furnishings was double what it eventually came in, Joe. So to your point, sometimes things aren't quite what they seem to be. So the best ability this committee can do, and the best ability goes to the commission, we would hope they were within the financial constraints we've given them. But Jim, and I know sometimes something goes up 2-3 million, and if we're in the middle of the building, it's not, okay, we're going to stop now. I mean, it's going to have to be the best of our ability to deliver a product that we want. But I do see that if 1 versus 2, if they come back and say, by the way, we need another 4 million, the commission would have the right to say, we're going to 2.
Absolutely, yeah.
Well, and as far as the cost too, we've got this 37 to 41 million. That's not just for the building, that's for the furniture, fixtures, equipment, spoons and forks and napkins or whatever else you're going to need. And so, you're going to want to know about what that cost is.
Did you say you saved half of the cost of the furnishings, or, well, nothing, no, that'd be great.
So my question is for Jim. So then when we have HVS, because we have to have somebody besides us look at this, because to give us if they think this is in the confidence in the bid, if they think, is that HVS that would be doing that? Or who is, but it has to have some outside professional group doing this besides us. Because we're all wonderful and smart experts, but that is not our wheelhouse. And I just think it's important to have somebody outside evaluating this for us, so.
I guess I hadn't thought of that, but that's probably a good idea to think about. I don't know if it'd be an architectural firm that could give us look at the plans and say, yeah, this is going to cost. And we kind of heard that with the presentation. Some people were saying, it's $700 a square foot. Some were saying $350, you're fine. And so, again, it gets to that quality of the construction too.
Yeah, they're going to have to narrow it down,
Yeah.
give us their best. And I assume they're going to all act in best faith and come up, in good faith, and come up with their best realistic estimate, right?
Whatever we pay for these, having additional people evaluate this is well worth the money spent, whether it's for the financial plan or for the engineering. So anyway, I would encourage us, that's why we're not in a rush, and so, but to have, we do this all the time with other stuff, and it's well worth it to have someone else look at it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, from my standpoint, I'm fully counting on the city experts to come through at this stage of the game, once we get into this, to do things the way the systems are set up to go, so.
Just to swerve off, once again, so Baker Tilly does a lot of financial evaluations for the city, financial balance sheets, but HVS this is kind of their expertise is large centers, and so maybe it's someone else, but I don't know, Jim, can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, we'd probably have to kind of look around to see who could maybe provide, an estimate of that, whether it's a construction manager, a contractor, an architect, who could look at recent bids and know, what the comparables are going to be.
HVS may have those people. I haven't gone beyond the stuff we've used them for, but I think they're pretty extensive in their study of this stuff. So there's certainly a possibility.
The financing plan here, we're looking for, a lot of this is related to the private development. So, if it's a hotel, who is the development partners? How much equity is, commitments do they have? Is that sufficient? Do they have loan commitments from the banks? If they're asking for property tax incentives or TIF money through the city, what would that be? And then really the final point, probably the most important, that their proposal for how they're going to provide guarantees for that private development. So how are they going to, guarantee that if we start to build a convention center, that a hotel really gets built? And that's where you're probably looking at the confidential information of their balance sheets. Do they have the ability to guarantee that? But then also on the building, if they're guaranteeing that they're going to build it and for $37 million and it costs $500,000 more, are they have the ability to cover that? Because then generally the city won't. And that's what we've done on our parking garages. That's the hard cap. We want to know that they have enough money that, they have to come up with the rest. Or basically they don't probably get their development fee and some other things. So, and how they're going to do that. And it won't be exactly on the proposal, but just their schedule for being able to do that. The operating plan, these are some, recommendations from HVS. So you're going to want to need really to know what the amount of city operating support, we've estimated, well, it's going to be maybe a $500,000 loss for the first 2 years and then $300,000, but, what kind of operating support do they expect? Are they going to go ask the CVB for some more help down the road? This is kind of how they would lease their management proposal. It could be a variety of things. Again, want to see the first 5 years of anticipated operating revenues and expenses. That was the recommendation from HVS. The proposed user fee schedule, how they would, what facility fees are they going to charge, because that certainly impacts on how well it'll work in the community. Their plan for in-house versus third-party operations with catering, liquor licensing, all of that. We don't have a requirement here, but they're going to propose that, and you'll evaluate that. We can charge for parking, it's going to be free. Their pre-opening services plan, and then the overall responsibilities for future capital improvements. So this would be, again, kind of today's point earlier, the financing is going to be very important. Number 7 is this, how they would propose to integrate with Visit Fargo-Moorhead sales team, and staffing, how they're going to market it, use this facility, what the responsibilities are.
Jim, can I add to that?
Yeah, Shirley and Mallory, just to weigh in on that.
Yeah, we've had one of the developers ask if they could do pre-meetings with us to sort of address that and ask questions, kind of like they did with the city and other things. Visit Fargo-Moorhead's fine with that. So we were happy to meet with all the developers if they want to sit down and talk about that in ahead of time, so they know sort of the reason why we're asking and have an understanding of a cadence, knowing that it may not be the final way that it ends up operating, but I'm happy to do that if the committee's okay with that, to dig into that a little bit earlier rather than later.
Yeah, I think it's really important that that happened so that we get the best informed decisions around really understanding what that relationship, and an understanding on both sides,
Yep.
right?
Agreed.
It's really important.
So again, that was brought up by one of the developers, so I get happy to do that for all 4.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think as long as it's available to all four developers, and they can call and check with you and schedule.
Yep, please.
Okay.
And we get, I guess, we get into that, provide the info on the schedule for the design, construction, commissioning, as well as note how they've addressed any concerns that were brought up by city department, so. Then, moving on to the scoring.
Before we go on, anybody have any other questions about any of this, Commissioner?
It's not a question, it's a comment, but a couple of the facilities have current events going on. We talked about this, and I'd like to have them make like a proposed calendar of how the convention center would work with their events. Does that make sense? We asked them to do that, and I think they would, but just to make sure that we include that, because like with the Fargo Dome, there's football, we know that's a large crowd. Well, you can't have a convention that day, and so how will those work? And same with the Shields Arena, there's hockey. If they could just do like, if the convention center is at together, like a hypothetical calendar.
So are you thinking we should add a line in there to that it says maybe how would your facility, tell us how you would integrate, if you have an existing facility that has existing events, how would you integrate with the new events?
If that's okay with everybody, I think that would be good, just to see, and it's not written in stone, but just to give them, but also it would give an opportunity for the CVB to say, how would we work together? How would that work?
And
Okay.
to Shirley's point, I think that can be, we can give them the same hypothetical calendar of what our convention needs would be, specifically, the heightened months of September and October and what that looks like. But we
Yeah.
can have that conversation with all four.
I agree, Commissioner, because I think you did bring it up. I would, again, I'm not a voting member of the committee, but I would agree with that again, because I think there's other things outside of even meetings, there might be sporting events, or other things that we can actually put in this facility that may have a different cadence than a traditional meeting or convention. So it isn't always that something moves in on a Sunday, or, you know what I mean? I think there's a variety of things we could be looking at booking in this facility. So just to have it, I like putting that in this, I think.
Jim, you're making a note to add a line for that under that
Yeah, I was
sales
going to do
plan?
that under the, I was going to do that under the operating plan, is to say coordination with other events.
Okay.
Is that the best place for it?
Commissioner?
Yeah, another point, and I don't know if this goes in the scoring under visitor experience, if we want to call it out in the first half of this, is however we call unique aesthetics, I mean, what is unique about the look, the feel, as part of the criteria, and then the scoring would be, is that under visitor experience then? Or are we going to define visitor?
Are you talking about
experience?
design elements, Commissioner?
Right.
Yeah?
Right.
Yeah, I guess I could go either place. It feels more like architectural, though.
It does.
Yeah.
So I don't know where that's, I mean, if it's under both of the hotel and the, adding something under each of those for that?
Yeah?
No, you go.
Well, I think it might be more than architectural, too.
We're going to say the same thing.
I feel like it is, yeah. Yeah.
So I think we want to make sure that developers know, if I'm hearing you right, Commissioner, and you've said this several times, especially visiting some others, is when you're here, you should be there and feel like you're in Fargo, or representing what the history of this region is.
Yeah, or something unique that really makes it stand alone and, be memorable, right, for the visiting.
So we'd want that for both the hotel and so it would go in numbers 2 and number 3, one for the convention center, one for the hotel?
I think we can only ask for the convention center because a hotel flag is going to have its own design.
Sure.
That's a good point.
That can't be
Yeah,
changed specifically to represent Fargo or North Dakota.
fair.
Well, it depends on the hotels, right?
They could.
Like, if you want to, that's great. But
Exactly. They
maybe
could, but
not
it can't-
required, but the
can't be
convention center
required.
feels like you want it there for sure.
Definitely.
You getting this, Jim?
Maybe. I think under, the architectural, drawings for the convention center, more of some local,
Yeah. Local flavor integration, whatever you want to call it,
Regional,
Maybe flavor's not the right word.
yeah, I was thinking about, the site that's kind of covered what's next door, what type of an area are you in. But that's kind of covered in that visitor experience scoring.
Yeah.
Where is it?
But I know Commissioner Kolpak's been talking about this since early on in our meetings, so
Yeah.
we probably should specifically put a line into that
Architectural.
architectural concept drawing
Okay.
for the convention center relating to.
Look at something in there.
In that case, is there anything you want to specify in the criteria under that visitor experience? Like specifically call out certain designs or?
I think that's maybe what Commissioner Kolpak was referring to a little bit. I also think visitor experience could be everything from how you're dropped off, how you get from one place to another, to the aesthetics. So I think that's, and/or what's close for them to go enjoy about, again, restaurants, whatever. So I think it's really a big bucket.
It's almost like a day in the life of what it would look like from an 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. experience inside the conference center, or 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., because a part of conference
Let's go to midnight,
happens
okay?
after the 5 p.m. era. I wonder on the calendar aspect of it, because we know that 2 of the locations are attached to current venues, if it's a neighborhood calendar that we're asking them to provide, because I think that there's other opportunities around the 2 sites that aren't attached that they could also flex surrounding events that they would be able to highlight.
Okay.
I think we'll figure it out.
So but the question that we're just kind of, are we talking about scoring now yet?
Not yet.
Not yet. So, but we're still talking about the visitor experience thing. That's kind of amorphous, and I appreciate that Shirley, I think, said that it's kind of included in all the other stuff too, right?
It's the holistic experience of everything, I
Yeah.
think, right? So it's hard to nail, but I think some sort of, I like the day in the life. I just think you have to really, again, what is my experience as I'm going to this facility, when it's potentially cold out, when it's, all the things that we deal with here in this community, and then again, the aesthetic part of it, and how that is incorporated, et cetera.
So the question is, do we try to score that, or does it become just a theme that flows through how you score all the other things?
We have a scoring criteria 8 visitor experience.
With no bullet points under it.
It sounds like we just created a lot.
I mean, I'm okay with that. I don't, because I think it includes all the other stuff. But I don't want some developer coming in and saying, you didn't tell us what you meant by that, So we're telling you now. I think we're trying.
In some, the first proposed criteria is that site location, and that's all about what are you next to? How close are you to restaurant, shopping?
Right.
Attractions, all of that. That's all another way to talk about visitor experience.
I think what I'm hearing is it's the intentionality put into it. It's not just there are restaurants here and Fargo Theater there and other things, a mile, 2 miles, or whatever.
Yeah.
I think give the staff charge to figure out how to write that.
Give it a shot.
Okay. I mean, yeah, we can leave it in. It feels naked without a bullet point or 2.
So when you look at this scoring criteria, first of all, at a high level, we have all of these at an equal weight. So you'd rank them 0 to 5, 8. So the most points you would get would be 40. We're not getting into as many subcategories or just kind of rank the whole part of it. So the site location, your proximity to other restaurants, that's how, would that site work? I think a lot of these are, have some proximity or will have some proximity to things. That's why they're kind of one of the 4 finalists. But if we rank that.
Jim, before you go through all of those, can I just ask a quick question, because I need to leave in 10 minutes? I'm not on the committee, but my question is, I'm kind of reluctant to ask this at this late in the game, but equal weight, is that really what we want to do? I don't know that that's probably appropriate. And I guess as a finance director, I would advocate that I think the cost or the risk to the city is probably worth more of a weight than the others.
Committee?
I agree. I don't think each of these is an equal weight. I think finance is pretty darn important. I've heard Mallory say, and we just spent 10 minutes talking about the visitor experience. I mean, ultimately, that's what you guys are doing. So how we weigh them, I just don't think it's equal.
And I did appreciate our previous process where we each provided input on how we wanted each section. And we went deep in like each element, but I wonder if revisiting scoring each section as an average of what our committee determines is a potential route.
Commissioner?
Well, first of all, what Mallory did the last time, that was amazing, just the breakdown and how, but I do think this,
did it
round-
together.
I mean, to me, the budget and the operational, that's the most important for especially the city of Fargo, because we don't want to build something that's great, but ends up costing whatever, a lot of money each year over budget. That's what, but the other thing is, that's the hardest thing to predict. And so I like it just saying, hey, these are all these topics that are on here are very important, but at the end of the day, the finance is I'm just telling you, that's the number one with a bullet. That's just my opinion. Does that make sense?
I mean, do you want each of these to be worth 5 points and financing and operating worth up to 10 points? I mean, to
We could
weight
do it that way. That would be a simpler way of weighting it. Yeah.
Okay.
So you're saying the score would be like 0 to 10 on those? Or are you saying that everything's just 5% except for those?
But I have to add a caveat, because it's going to be incredibly difficult to predict the budget, even though you think you know how it's going to go. To give you an example, the Fargo Dome, when it first was built, you had no idea. We were hoping that it would break even, but you had no idea, you know what I mean?
Well, and there's a lot of factors that would involved. Is the developer going to come in and guarantee the whole thing? Well, then there's no risk. But if it's, city-owned, then there's risk. So I think it's going to be more than just operations. It's kind of the overall structure. So there'll be a lot of things to consider.
Is there a recommendation that you would make?
No, actually. That's why I was hesitant. I'm not sure it needs to be quite as complicated as it was last time, although it was great. But it kind of goes to Joe's point. Is it 1 to 5, and then your 5 weighs 40%? Or is it, I don't know exactly how to do that.
Well,
If you want to weight those high, maybe each of those are 20% of the scores, or a total of 40 points, and the others are all 10, like it says to 100,
And then go 0 to 5.
0 to 5, and weight it.
That makes sense.
Say that again?
So
You want to bring you're trying to achieve a total of 100 with the raw scoring, basically, by giving more points to,
Yeah, so
Finance and
financing and
operations.
operating would each be, 20, the others 6 or 10. And so you'd be at 100 points.
okay,
Was-
we should,
I'm
Go ahead.
jotting these all down as fast as I can. I'm also thinking based on, the number of bullet points that we have. Now, I know we're not scoring on each bullet point, but tell me if this is a silly idea to actually move the sales plan, and I also added a bullet point about managing and sales structure into the operating plan.
Yes.
So then we have 7 categories instead of 8.
It's a great suggestion because they go hand in hand.
okay, which one are you moving?
And I
I'm
agree
sorry.
with Commissioner Pepcorn on the operating part of it as well, being just as
Moving
important.
sales plan into which?
Operating.
Okay.
No, just,
Okay, then you got to give more then we got to redo the points if you want to get to 100. Which can be done.
Yeah.
so hearing the suggestion of the sales plan up in the operating, right?
Yep.
My question would be, are there any of these categories that a segmentation of this group is more informed, that they can sort of provide that rating? Like the sales plan, to me, I don't know how I would depend on others like you.
That's why we're going to have that discussion.
Yeah, maybe that's a part of,
Did I walk in late?
Yeah.
Is that, okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah,
that's
that's,
part of
oh,
this.
yeah, you came in late. We were talking about the timeline where we wanted the full meeting for discussion before the scoring is kind of what we decided. So some of that would happen in there. Does that answer your question, kind of? Yeah, yeah.
I was late, I apologize.
No, it's all right, it's all right. It's okay to remind us all anyway, you know.
It's not required to get to 100, but if you want to throw those 10 points, give 5 to the convention center facility plan, another 5 to the hotel plan. So your points would be on number 1, 10, then 15, 15, 20, 20, 10, and 10.
And again, we're talking about we're not going to do the bullet points separately. We're not weighing, not like we did last time. That was quite complex and maybe not that necessary in this
Yeah.
case.
And
For each bucket, right?
and this is a guide to decide what's number 1 through number 4. So after you do the scoring, you could do another set of scoring where I think this is 1,
Yeah.
2.
Just so everybody hears this, so tell us,
All right.
Number 1,
so
site location, how many points?
Site location is 10,
Convention center facility plan,
15,
hotel plan,
15,
financing plan,
20,
operating plan,
20.
including sales plan,
20,
and then schedule
10,
and visitor experience.
10. Good?
Further discussion?
Can you say that one more time? I'm so sorry.
Okay, ready? Site location, 10%. Convention center facility plan, 15.
Slow down, slow down.
You just have to write two numbers.
I can't even flip my pages that fast.
15, okay, hotel, 15. Financing, 20. Operating and sales plan, 20. Schedule, 10. And visitor experience, 10. 100.
Okay, so this is, for what we put in the packet for Monday, you'll reflect that in these, right?
Yeah.
You'll say how many points each one's worth, and you'll combine those two.
I'll update the agenda and the commission will decide whether to accept the update.
Mallory has already written up a tentative schedule.
Okay, so next Monday, the 10th of November, is presenting Phase 2 RFP to the City Commission. The next day, November 11th, Phase 2 RFP is available. And then, based on the discussion of extending the question time from 3 weeks to a little bit longer over the holidays, January 2nd would be when questions are due, followed by our committee meeting the next week on January 9th. I see a lot of pens moving, I'll wait, okay?
So the questions would be due on the 2nd, we'd meet on the 9th.
Correct. And then proposals are due 4 PM on February 27th. In case you were wondering, that's 106 days. They'll have the RFP will be open 106 days. Okay, and then the following week, we're gonna do 2 meetings, Thursday and Friday, or Wednesday and Friday, whatever we decide. 2
Stop
presentations.
there.
Oh,
Wednesday or Thursday, what do you like better? I know, nobody knows their calendar in January yet, or
I would
March
do-
yet.
March 5th and 6th, or March 4th and 6th.
I think the closer they are together, the better, actually.
Same.
So let's plan on the 5th and 6th.
March 5th, 2 presentations. March 6th, 2 presentations. The following week of discussion with the committee on March 13th. Now, this is where we get a little hairy. Tell me what you think of this. But I said after that committee meeting, we would have our scoring in by the following Wednesday, March 18th, because we're only scoring 8 elements. We're not doing the lengthy scoring that we did the first time.
I do believe it is our responsibility to provide adequate feedback in the instance that we're not doing line by line.
Yes.
I think that we should all be prepared to provide like a paragraph of feedback on each section. if
Yeah,
that's the case.
comments would be more important probably in
Yes,
this case
yes.
for ultimate, responsibility.
Yep.
Thank you, Emma.
Okay, so since the scoring is then due on the 18th, that's Wednesday, we would meet on March 20th, hopefully with Tom from HVS potentially, and any other important key players.
March 20th would still be our committee discussion. and
Yep, and then we would have the final presentation, sorry, I was gonna sneeze, recommendation to the city commission on March 30th. So it's still complete by the end of the first quarter.
Okay. Can I take that? No?
Yeah, you can have that.
Okay. I will, anybody have any questions about that? Obviously, everything's permanent until it changes, so, but this is what we're going to strive for. We're really going to strive to get to that March 30th City Commission meeting with a recommendation, a ranking of all four, including a number one recommendation. Excuse me. Okay. Anything else for the good of the order? Are we in order? I'm not sure. We're a disorder, all right. All right, thanks again, committee members. So we're actually not going to see you until January 9th, yes. As a committee, yes, yeah. Well, yeah, yeah. Okay. Huh?
He keeps.
So, yeah, it's true. Well, we'll have a, we can't all meet. We can't all get together. We can't have a party.
You can
Remember
all,
that.
you can all come on Monday evening to the city commission meeting.
Exciting.
Yeah, you're welcome to come to the commission meeting. Otherwise, we are adjourned.